Yesterday I bought this wonderful can of sardines for lunch, and I want to talk about it because I think it has a lot of useful information as far as something that could be good for you or something that you should worry about perhaps or inquire about. So there's a lot of conflicting information about nutrition, which is one of the reasons I used to not worry about it, because it's just too much information, and there's a feeling that as much as you try, it's still easy to go wrong, and so I might as well not try. But lately I became more interested in it. So yeah, there's a lot of conflicting information, but there's something that everybody agrees on. Just cut the sugar and processed food. If you just do that, this is like 90%. It doesn't matter what diet, doesn't matter what advice you follow. People argue about carnivore, vegetarian, this and that, but nobody will tell you to eat more sugar. Cut the sugar. Nobody will tell you processed food is good for you. Cut that. And another thing people agree on is that omega-3, this is a liver, fish, one of the fish fats. This is very, very good for you, and it's really hard to find it anywhere other than in fish. It might exist somewhere else, maybe flaxseed, but mostly in fish. So this is the reason that I bought it. Also, it tastes good. But speaking of the omega-3 that you want to get from fish, there's a couple of things. Well, one thing is it says on the box that it has rich in omega-3, but there's some principles that you can go by to decide if this is a good fish for omega-3 or not. Wild caught, it has to be wild caught, because if it's rated, because the reason it's rich in omega-3 is because it feeds on algae. If the fish is farm raised, it feeds on corn at best. You don't really know what they might feed it on, actually, but corn doesn't provide the omega-3, so that fish is not rich in omega-3. So salmon is a popular source of omega-3, and you should get wild caught salmon. When you get wild caught fish, there's also things you have to worry about, because our oceans are polluted with all kinds of stuff, like mercury. So not all fish accumulate this bad stuff to the same extent. Based on my research, you should go for small fish and non-predatory fish. So non-predatory fish, they feed on algae and they don't have a long lifespan, and they don't tend to accumulate all the bad stuff, all the toxins like mercury in their body. Whereas bigger fish like shark and tuna, predatory fish, potentially accumulate mercury. What else do we see here in this can? So this is just interesting how it's like a critical thinking exercise. It says 100% olive oil. Olive oil is another very good thing for you. However, if you heat olive oil, it will change the cis bonds into the trans bonds. So oil is a fat which has a double bond, and the carbon chains on each side of that double bond can either look in the same direction, making it cis, or opposite directions, making it trans. So it turns out we have enzymes to metabolize cis fats, but we don't have enzymes to metabolize trans fats. So trans fats at some point became very popular in the food industry. Precisely, I think one of the reasons why they were popular is because they wouldn't go bad, because there's no bacteria on Earth that can produce enzymes to metabolize them. So that would increase the shelf life. However, our bacteria in our body cannot metabolize them either. So basically, the trans fats accumulate in your body and kill you slowly. So olive oil, if it's not heated, it doesn't have the trans fats. But it has to be cold pressed olive oil. The way you know it's cold pressed is it should, like, if you get a bottle of olive oil, it should say extra virgin. If it's not cold pressed, it means that they treated it thermally, or treated whatever the olives were treated thermally as they were pressing the oil, and potentially some of those cis bonds flip to trans, making them really bad for you. So that's a question in my mind. Well, just this is just the good thing that I'm stopping. I'm spending a lot of time on this because I hope this is not the case here. But this is how they can trick you. They can put something that has a good reputation. Olive oil has a good reputation, but there's always little tricks. Just because it's olive oil, it's not. See, it's not about the food. It's what we do with the food. Most foods are probably good, unless they're poisonous mushrooms. They're probably good for you if you don't do anything to them. Most dangerous thing in the food is what people do to the food, for the most part. So let's turn this wonderful can over and see. Now I see here that if you look at the nutritional facts, that trans fat is 0, which gives me a degree of confidence that this olive oil does not have trans fats. But again, don't be fooled by that. That's another interesting thing that I found out. 0 trans fat does not mean 0 trans fat. They became prohibited at some point by the FDA, the trans fats. However, it's impossible to guarantee 0 trans fats. So the food industry made an agreement that they can round it down. So if your food contains 0 point something, I don't remember exactly if it's 0.1% or 0.05% of trans fats, grams of trans fats or whatever. Again, I don't remember the number, don't quote me on this, but the bottom line is that they can round it down. So 0 does not mean 0. It could mean 0 or it could mean 0.01. Okay? So we have to be careful about that. Another thing is that this nutrition facts, it's complete bullshit. Don't look at that at all. Why do they put calories? The biggest number on this label is calories. I have nothing against this can of sardines in particular. They're probably, I have faith that this is a good can of sardines because I looked at a bunch, and this is the one that convinced me. And it convinced me because of the ingredients. And it's not because of the ingredients it has, it's because of the ingredients it doesn't have. Look at that. Contains fish. This is beautiful. Contains fish. Fish contains fish. Wow. Unbelievable. Fish contains fish. Blows my mind. All right, the calories. Meaningless. People used to think, they thought, but then they sold you this idea that calorie in, calorie out. You should calculate what calorie intake you have versus how much energy you expend, and this is going to determine if you're going to be fat or not. This is bullshit. Calorie coming from it's not about the value. Like if you put that food and you burn it and see how much energy you get from it, this is the calories, how much energy you get from the food. But each food, it's not so simple. We're not like a simple machine. It's not about simply burning the food for energy. It's if each food is metabolized differently, it involves different hormones. Some food is absorbed directly by you. Some food is being fed on by the bacteria in the gut. It's very, very complicated. the calories is misleading. A lot of this information is misleading. Like they tell you about the vitamins and the calcium and iron and this and that. Uh, Meaningless. Calcium. Milk has a lot of calcium, and they used to recommend milk for bone health. Uh, Turns out you don't absorb calcium in the milk. It's doesn't matter that it has whatever percent calcium. You just don't absorb it. I don't know the details, but it's very, very um, kind of simplified. But a lot of times to absorb something, you need something else. Like vitamin D is another example. It's not. It's a simple matter of just taking that in. There's a sunlight that's required for vitamin D, right? At least. Same thing for probably for iron, and some of this stuff conflict with each other. Like calcium, I bet you calcium and iron they fight for the absorption. Um, it's complicated. Don't so that stuff is just to frame the discussion. It's just to basically brainwash you, so that you can see. Oh, look at this. This is the calories. Blah blah blah. This is the vitamins. Look at this. This is good. No, don't please do whatever you want, but I say stop looking at that stuff. This is how food industry tricks you, and this may be a good can of sardines, but they still have to follow the standards, and they have to pull that stuff, and that stuff is just wrong. I would much rather them explain like about the olive oil, like, oh, give me the details. What is this? Another detail I would like to know is that and how they can trick you is if you look at the kind of fish it is. It's says Sardina pilchardus. Sardina pilchardus. So turns out there's different kind of sardines. So again, this is a potential way how they can trick you. Are you sure that all sardines are created equal? Yeah, when like they have a good reputation, that they are rich in omega-3 and they're low in mercury. But there are different kind of sardines. Are you sure they're all the same? I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. So they could easily. I'm not saying they're doing this here, but I need to do some research. They could easily, uh, sell it as sardines, whereas it's not the sardines that you thought you were getting. It's not the sardines that the research was done on. Right? The researchers said, oh, they did some other. They did herring is another type of sardine. They did research on herring and they said, oh, sardines are really good for blah blah blah, and then they put sardine pilchardus, which turns out has something opposite of what the research was saying, and you were thinking you were getting all this good stuff for you. And again, this is the reason why I did not used to even try, because I just said it's so easy. You're spending all this energy to try to eat healthy, and then boom, they said, oh, whatever they said yesterday was good, today they say is bad. Or oh, they trick you. They sell you something. There's so many examples of how they trick you. Yogurt. Yogurt is supposed to be good, but did you know that what is the reason yogurt is good? It's because supposedly it has live culture. Are you sure that the yogurt you're eating has live culture? Because if they process it, they probably kill the live culture. So you have to be careful when you buy yogurt. Don't fool yourself. Not only they kill live culture, they add sugar. Yeah, the glucose and the fructose. A lot of sugar. So if you're gonna eat yogurt, don't eat sweet yogurt. And look at the label. Look at the label carefully. Buy kefir instead. What else? How else they trick you? A lot of ways they trick you. But I'm gonna cut this short for now.